This CyCast is provided to you by the Iowa State Letter Winners Club, bridging the gap between legend and legacy by engaging in our past to invest in our future.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our latest CyCast, and we have an outstanding guest today, an Iowa State Hall of Fame wrestler, Kelly Ward. You know, Kelly was a three-time NCAA finalist, a national champion, and a two-time Big 8 champion. When his amazing Iowa State career ended, he had 126 wins, and he won 92.3% of his matches, which is the seventh best winning percentage in Iowa State history. Welcome to the Iowa State CyCast, Kelly.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I mean, before we get started, I guess I kind of want to talk about your childhood because you grew up kind of in Ames, as a youngster, because your dad was the assistant football coach at Iowa State. I believe it was from 58 to 65. What are your recollections of growing up in Ames?
Well, I lived there twice, actually, as a kid.
Okay.
My dad was a college and professional football coach, and he was, in that period of time, he was doing his college thing, and he had been at the University of, he was the first All-American football player for the University of Maryland, and he's the only guy in the history of college football to be unanimously voted first team All-American.
Yeah, and he's also in the College Football Hall of Fame, correct?
And he's also in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that unanimous thing will never happen again because it's done differently.
Yep.
But he was just really a hammer. I didn't realize what a big deal he was when I was a kid. He was my dad.
Yep.
But people would come up to him and I'd make big deal out of him. And I was like, I don't know what this is all about. But then there was no trophies around the house. There was no plaques around the house. But when I got older, it was like in high school or something, or junior high, I found a bunch of boxes in the basement, and they were filled with trophies and plaques and things. I was like, wow, look at all this stuff.
Yeah. And
that's when I kind of came aware of how much of a great athlete he was, and that was just he was really he was a great dad and a fabulous athlete. I mean,
yeah, and he was an assistant coach on Iowa State's famed Dirty 30 team in 1959.
Twice.
Yeah. Yeah, and growing up though, like as a kid, did you go to a lot of Iowa State sporting events when you were really young?
I did. I have vague memories of going. Well, the first time I was there, I was really young, so I wasn't going. I was probably in a crib back at the house.
Yeah.
And which is really walking distance to Hilton Coliseum, the house we lived in. But the second time we lived there, I can't remember. There's that park, and then in town there, we lived pretty close to that park in town where the softball fields and stuff were. And I went to the games pretty often, and I'd end up on the sidelines. And my dad used to tell stories about, he'd be in the middle, they're focused like crazy, those coaches.
Yeah.
He tells a story about, he's in some game with Oklahoma or Nebraska or somebody, and all of a sudden he feels somebody tugging on his pants. So he's like, looks down, he's like, what? What's going on? It's me asking him for money so I could get a hot dog or something. He's like, get away.
Yeah, this is an old Clyde Williams Field, I take it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the name of it, Clyde Williams.
Yep.
It was right across the street. It was not right across. It was really on Lincoln Way almost, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, and right next to State Gym. Right.
Yeah, it was there when I got there as a freshman. And then they tore it down.
Well, you had obviously had an outstanding prep career, and when it came down to picking a school for wrestling, you obviously already had ties with Iowa State. I assume with Coach Nichols. Did that help you when you were making a decision to come to Iowa State?
Well, got a funny story there.
Bring it. I want it.
Yeah, you'll like this. It's just pretty funny, actually. My senior year of high school, I only wrestled 2 years. My sophomore and junior year in Maryland in high school. And my coach, I was undefeated, and he thought that was enough. And I think he was done with coaching. And he said, you go to college now. You're good enough to go to college. Well, and I think this was I think my high school coach was getting a little too enthusiastic, actually. If I'd gone to college then, it probably not a good idea. My dad put a kibosh on that. He said, oh, no, he's not going to college now. He's just a junior in college. I got my high school diploma in my junior year.
Okay.
And he said, no, that's not happening. You're going to go to a prep school or something.
Yeah.
You're not going to end up in college being a year behind everybody, be 17 years old, and these other guys are 19 or whatever. And I'm like, well, I thought, I'm an idiot, 17. You don't know much about life. But I thought I could go do it, but he was right. Because I know now, looking back on it, that would have been a huge mistake. So I went to a school called Blair Academy in Blairstown, New Jersey, which was another stroke of luck, just a stroke of luck that I ended up there. And because they'd been looking at some other schools in Pennsylvania, which would have been fine. But this school was perfect for me, just absolutely perfect. They're still to this day one of the most dominant high schools, private schools in the country that dominate the national preps tournament and the teams that they wrestle. Anyway, I went up there. I will say this: I didn't really care for the place. It was, you're living in dorms, and most of the kids there we weren't meshing. The only guys on the team, people in the school that I meshed with were the kids on the team.
Yeah.
The wrestlers, most of them were kids. There's nothing against them. They were just from very, very wealthy families and privileged backgrounds. A lot of foreign kids and a lot of privilege going on. And a lot of them were kids that thought they were going to go to an Ivy League school. I would say maybe 10% of them did go to Ivy League schools.
Yeah.
I don't think 90% of them went to Ivy League schools, but that's what they were all there for.
So did Coach Nichols make a couple trips out to your prep school?
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of a funny story. I went to visit at Iowa State. I went to visit at Oklahoma. I think I went up to Penn State. My dad told me, because my dad was in athletics, as you know.
Yep.
He said, I was getting letters from all over the country. And he said, look, you're not going to go to 10 or 14 visits. That's not happening. You're not going to waste these people's time. I'm thinking, well, I want to go. Just don't want to go.
Yeah.
No, you're not. That's not happening. In our household, whatever, I called my dad a hard guy, just because he was a hard guy, and you didn't. If he said no, that was no, and there was no discussion. It wasn't a democracy, and so I said, all right. So I went to Iowa State. I went to Oklahoma. Iowa State, Penn State, and I went up to Clarion State but anyway, but Clarion and Penn State really weren't in my world of thoughts that I was going to go there. Iowa State definitely was. Oklahoma definitely was. I was liked Oklahoma not, liked Stan Abel, the head coach there a lot.
Yep.
But I go to Iowa State. Did you know Harold Nichols? Did you ever meet him?
He was still alive when I first started working here, so I just met him, just a couple times, but it was the tail end.
Yeah. Well, you didn't get many words, even as many, the few words you got from them, those are about the same amount of words you got out of them. But
yeah, I've heard that from multiple people.
Yeah. You'd always get, because that's always a thing he did. I figured this out later in life, actually, after the fact. So that was his moment of thinking what he was going to say.
Yeah.
But he, I had a nice trip at Iowa State, enjoyed myself, liked it a lot, liked the guys. And really, I didn't really talk too much he didn't talk to me that much. I don't know if I even did. I mean, I must have talked to him. And I was like, well, he seemed like a nice enough guy. I liked the kids, the guys on the team, they all liked him. I go back to Blair Academy, New Jersey. And I don't know, it's like a week, 2 weeks after I've been there. I think there's like a week before. And it's like a small college campus.
Yep.
And I'm walking across campus, and I look up ahead, and I'm like, who the hell's that? Because it's mostly kids, high school guys and gals. And this was an old man. I go, that looks like Harold Nickel. What is he doing here? And, but knowing Nick like I knew him after I knew him, because I knew exactly what he was doing after I figured him out.
Yeah.
He wasn't letting me let any grass grow under his feet, because he knew there was other people that were in the market for me. And he got in a plane and he got his butt out there, and he says, hi, how you doing? And I go, oh, how you doing, Coach Nichols? What are you doing here? He said, well, I came to see you. And, I'm just a dumb kid. I'm like, well, you want me to show you around? He goes, yeah. How about you show me your dorm room? And I'm like, well, okay. But thinking, why does he want to see my dorm room? That's just a prison cell.
Yeah.
And well, he gets me up there, and I put dots together later. He had given me the letter of intent when I left to sign it, and take it home, have your parents have to sign it and everything. And we got in the room, and he got sitting down, and he did a little bit of chit chat or whatever. He said, where's that letter? And I said, well, it's right here, Coach Nichols. And I pulled it out, and he says, why don't we just sign it right now?
And you did, or you didn't?
Oh, I did. But I'm like, he's right on top of me. But I knew in my head, it didn't mean anything unless my parents signed it.
Sure, yeah.
So I was like, all right, because I was actually going to Oklahoma that weekend. So I had signed it, but it's not for done until my parents signed it.
Yeah.
I went to Oklahoma. I liked it real well. I didn't like it as well as Iowa State. And I liked the fellas on the team at Iowa State much better. Stan Abel was a great salesman. He was a great salesman and fun guy, but I made the right choice.
Yeah. I saw an interview with you, Kelly, where you mentioned that Coach Nichols was the perfect coach for you.
Perfect.
Why was that?
Perfect coach for me. Oh God, he wasn't. He'd show some technique in the room now and then, but he really had guys that had wrestled there, or he had hired. Well, they were all guys that wrestled there. Carl Adams.
Sure. Yeah.
Willie Gatson. And these are guys that knew the craft like the back of their hand. They knew everything. And he would let them do the practices. And he'd only do it for just a very bit of time. And then he'd let, we had 35 savages in the room at a time.
Yeah.
And we had athletes from all over the place that were really good. I mean, really good at all weight classes. And I mean, I can just think that Johnny Jones, my 118-pound teammate from Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I never missed a match of his. The guy was phenomenal. He could do everything. Willie Gatson from Long Island, New York, he had all the basics down, and he was a motivator. He actually kind of became my coach when he was my teammate.
Yeah.
Because he was such a motivator guy. And there's Joe Zuspan, who was right below me in weight class, and he was great to have because he was a freaking hammer. And I couldn't dominate him, and we would both just be fighting each other. And Nick would just put us, we may do a little warm up, and after a while, we'd just walk in the room and, okay, you want to go? You want to go? And we would just be savages going at each other for about an hour and a half, hard. You're done.
Yeah.
You're done. I mean, Mike Land, that guy was probably the most feared guy in NCAA my days that I was around. He asked me once, I'm a 158 pounder, so I'm weighing 175 pounds, walking around. And he says to me, he's wrestling 134. And he says, get up, you want to go? I go, what? In my head, I'm like, what's this guy do? And I said, you want to wrestle with me? And I was kind of like saying it sarcastically to him, but he's very straight ahead, Mike. You know Mike?
Oh yeah.
He's very straight ahead. And I said, okay. And we start, and he grabbed a hold of me by my arm, and I'm like, what the? It was like a vice grip grabbing me. I'm like, I tried to pull back, and he shot in on my leg. And I'm like, what the hell? And I figured I would just whizzer him and just, any other guys that size, they would crush him. I couldn't even move him. It was like steel underneath me. And he took me down. Oh, I was pissed. Oh, really pissed off. And I was like, I couldn't even believe that he took me down. Well, okay, you back?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Well, he takes me down, and I am pissed that the guy took me down. And so then I just go after him. We wrestled for probably an hour. I didn't let him score again, but anybody, I pretty much beat a normal humanoid would have been beat up, had just destroyed with because I threw him around, beat on him, and I had trouble scoring on him, but he just got up and basically brushed himself off, all right, we're done, good, it's a good workout. He was unbelievable, that guy. He had rowing one.
Yeah, and I think you just pretty much summed up how amazing the wrestling room was at Bayer Hall during your time. I mean, it was the best of the best, and and probably one of the reasons why all you were All-Americans. And
well, we really sharpened each other's swords, is what we did. I mean, I could wrestle with Dave Powell, who was the weight class above me. And in no way was I going to dominate Dave Powell. Yeah. He was tough as hell and tough to move, tough to score on. Joe Zuspan, who wrestled below me from Fort Dodge, Iowa, holy crap. That guy, he was we were about the same quickness. And he would get in on me and he'd take me down. And it was a battle. Both those guys it was a battle every day. It was not, you were never going to dominate either of these guys. And these guys didn't ever submit to you. And, Willie Gatson I didn't wrestle with. He's too big. He was too big and powerful. And but there were some other guys that were.
Pete.
Who?
Pete.
Gallia. Oh, Pete. My wife just telling me from afar.
Pete Gallia.
My CEO. Oh yeah, the first time what do you look at me like that for? Oh, okay. Was getting instructions, but Pete Gallia, I was there. I showed up 2 months before school, and Nichols was like surprised to see me. I told him I was coming, but he didn't believe me. He didn't know what to do with me. He put me in the house he owned that Gallia ended up living in with a bunch of other guys. But I worked out with Gallia that summer, and I'm looking at him. I'm bigger. I'm not that much bigger, about the same size. But he wasn't a guy that was intimidating at all. At all. His arms were skinny, didn't look like he had much muscle. He was like a skinny Italian kid. And he's actually Maltesian. But so I say, sure. And I think, oh, I'm going to whip this guy to death. And I start wrestling, I shoot in on him. Easy, get in on him easy. I'm like, oh, I'm going to take this guy down. Next thing you know, I'm in a cradle and I'm on my back. I'm like, what? Ah. I think he pinned me 10, 12 times that day. And at the camp, the summer of my freshman year, before my freshman year. I was so demoralized, I left that camp that day and going, I can't wrestle here. I'm in the wrong place. This guy just manhandled me. I mean, nobody's ever manhandled me except, other coaches or something. I just thought I just couldn't get over it, and I got over it. But that's the thing that happens to everybody.
Sure. At
that level, they get manhandled, but then they realize I can. Once you get in there and you get the fortitude and the discipline, and you figure out, because it's going from high school to college, it's different, and you just got to figure out the angles and where you can get around things.
Sure. Well, beginning in your sophomore year, Kelly, in 1977, you made the finals at 158 pounds 3 straight years in 1977, 78, and 79.
That's correct.
And unfortunately, you were in the same weight class your sophomore and junior year with one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the sport, Lee Kemp from Wisconsin.
No question.
Kind of tell me about those matches against him, and what made him so difficult to wrestle.
Well, I like to let him win because he was a nice guy. But to be honest, I wrestled him. First time I wrestled him, we tied, and he had already been in the finals or had already been an NCAA champion. We were at some tournament up in Wisconsin. I think we tied 1-1, or I don't know what the tie was, and then it went into overtime, and we tied there, and it was in Madison, which is the hometown of Wisconsin, and it was a split referee's decision, which that's kind of, I thought, I didn't think of it at the time. I didn't know how it was going to go because it was such a tight match, but the referee's decision, it went to him, and I thought, no, okay. Well, then I thought about it later in life. I was like, God, what were the chances of me getting that, a referee's decision in Madison with 3 Wisconsin referees? I'd like to meet the guy who voted for me that I won. but he was definitely my nemesis. I could always figure out people. Say I had 126, 10, and 2 was my
I think the answer to that question that you're going to say, your 10 losses, 9 of them were to national champs.
Probably, I'll say that's probably correct. 6 of them were to Lee Kemp.
Well, 6 of them were Lee Kemp.
6 of them were to Lee Kemp. And the other 4 guys were probably national champs that I probably beat later on or before. One I know was not. I never had a chance to wrestle him again, but and he was out of school. He was an Olympian, Yagla from from Iowa,
Yep.
in the Midlands finals. A guy that I had beaten badly from Oklahoma. He pinned me in the finals of the Big Eights. Trying to remember his Keith Stearns. He was a national champ from Oklahoma, and I wanted to wrestle him really bad again because that he might have got hurt. But I was beating him pretty bad, and he just caught me. I was, you know what? It was a lack of focus. I lost focus for megasecond.
Yeah.
A megasecond, and he lurched onto it, and he got me. He got me an over and under, which you probably don't know what it is, but it's a half Nelson, and it's a double, and they got his locked on the arms, and it was like I was like, oh God, can't believe I walked into that one. I mean, I gave it, because I lost my focus for that millisecond, and that's what you can't do. You cannot. If you listen to you've seen, I've probably talked to enough athletes at this level. If you talk to them, anybody at the college level or above in the pros, they're all say the same thing. You know, they're all focused. And you can see it in their eyes. I used to see it when I was recruiting kids. I could see it in their eyes. Mike Land's one. He's just like totally focused at all time, and you just see that they're focused. And when it comes game time, that's when you want to be. You can't be focused all the time because then wear yourself out. And I was good at that. I was good at I could break, cut. Okay, we're done. You know, relax. Some guys stay too focused, too long, too much. You know, it was the same with my work thing. I would just focus at work and boom, done. I'm not doing it. I'm at home. I'm doing whatever. But I don't even know what was the question.
No, that was okay. We're just kind of talking about making the finals sophomore year. But I do want to ask you, Kelly. So your sophomore year, you make the finals. You're an All-American, and you guys win the team title. And it ended up being Coach Nichols' final national championship. But what was your feeling like in '77 when you captured that title?
As a team, well, it's an individual sport, so of course we're all. I can't think of the word right now, but you're thinking about you're kind of upset about your own loss, but it was really. It actually, over the years, at the time I was happy, at the end of it, after it was over, so I was like, oh, well, we were national champs. That's a good thing. I was glad for Coach Nichols and the rest of my teammates. And it actually, as the years have gone on, I'm like, because it's the only national championship team I was on.
Yeah.
And not many people are on any national championship team. I mean, the 10 of us, well, 30 of us, the other 20 guys back in Ames, or the guys who weren't in the lineup, they were on the national championship team too, and they made a contribution to us to get to where we were at. The guys who were in the shadows, and actually, I don't know if they gave. I wish they had. They gave us. I got a ring around here. So I think it's in the other room, the national championship ring. But I don't wear it too much, but it's kind of big and it's kind of gaudy, but it's nice. Pretty neat.
Yeah,
but like, wow, what's that? But it's like I said, how many people have the opportunity to be on a team that wins a national title in anything?
Absolutely.
And I was really proud of that. I still, to this day, am very proud of it. I'm proud of the fact that we were second the other 3 years I was on the team.
That's correct.
Unfortunately, my freshman year, I was doing really good. I was 22-2-1, and I had beaten the guy who ended up winning the national tournament that year, Brad Smith from Iowa, but I couldn't make weight anymore. I was just cutting too much weight.
Yeah. Your junior year in '78, tough tough loss in the end of the team finals of losing to Iowa by a half point. And that Frank Santana match where, Nick had to throw in the towel. How tough was that for you to watch as a teammate?
Well, Frank was my roommate then, and I actually didn't realize that we were that close.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were half a point out of being first. I knew we were leading, and then I knew maybe we'd gotten behind, but we were right there. I knew it was right there, and I believe I knew. I don't know if I knew Frank had to win or not, but we were so confident that Frank was going to win because Frank won.
He won everything.
And he dominated that guy in the dual meet. And I didn't think he was going to have any trouble with him, but, that's life.
Your senior year, frankly, I don't know how you could have ended your career any better. Your final year, you won the national title. You won the Big 8 title for the second time. And both of those, I might add, were in Hilton Coliseum. The Big 8 championship was in Hilton. The NCAA championship was also in Hilton. You won both. How rewarding was that for you to cap off your career like that?
There? Are you back? We back?
Yep.
Okay, there you go. That was, to answer your question, that was on my back, like, worried about, God, if I don't win this national title, this is my third and last shot at it. And the guy who wrestled in the finals was an outstanding wrestler, a guy named Zilberberg from
Minnesota, right?
Minnesota. Now, I had beat him a couple times previously, but that year I lost to him in the dual meet, and because of a stupid thing I did, but we don't need to get into that. But he was probably the best rider in the whole country because he'd get on you and he could just ride the hell out of it. If you don't get out from somebody, you're probably going to lose. And that's what happened to me in the dual meet. And so anyway, it was, but actually in looking back at it, backwards at it, it was good I did lose to him so that he didn't get overconfident. And actually we became good friends. I worked with him at a wrestling camp up at the University of Michigan, and he's a doctor now, actually.
Okay.
I understand it. And, but really nice guy, and we got along real well.
Yeah. I had read an article, Kelly, that in the 79 NCAA championships, once again, was at Hilton Coliseum. Your dear friend and your close partner in Mike Land, who at the time had a 48 match winning streak.
49 match.
49 match winning streak.
No, excuse me. 89.
Oh, that's right. It was in the 80s, wasn't it? That's right.
That's unbelievable.
It was. And unfortunately, he got upset by Daryl Burley, I think, from Lehigh.
Yes.
And it infected you, didn't it? I mean, it was really tough for you to watch, wasn't it?
It's affecting me right now. I mean, just thinking about it. It's I was standing, and I know you know where this is because it was Hilton Coliseum, and I was standing back in the corner where we came out of our locker rooms there, and I'm standing there and I'm watching this thing, and I'm like, well, he'll be okay. He'll be okay. Oh, he'll be okay, because it was like back and forth, and then I was like, oh my God, maybe he's not gonna be, and he lost, and I was like, I literally broke down. Very rarely do I cry. Very rarely do I break down. I went in the back, collapsed on the ground. How do you know about this story? Do you know about this?
I heard about this story, yeah.
You're okay. Okay. And I was like, how is he? He's clairvoyant. I went in the back into one of the rooms back there because I knew I was going to collapse. And I just bawled, just started bawling. And I was on the ground. I was like, and here comes a knight in shining armor for me. I wasn't even thinking. He's wrestling 134. 142 is coming up.
Yep.
150. It's 2 matches, and I got to wrestle a savage. that has beaten me during the year,
Yeah.
and might take away my chance to be a national champion, which not many people have that opportunity. And I'm on the ground, and all of a sudden, the door opens up, and Willie Gatson, my teammate at Iowa State, who wasn't even coach, he was coaching at the University of Michigan. He was watching me when he tells me this later. We were great friends. Great, he's passed.
Yeah.
Which,
Just
awesome.
an amazing human being,
Oh.
amazing wrestler,
Oh
and obviously the father of Kyvan Gadsden.
Kyvan Gadsden's father, and just talking about him makes his picture is in my living room, and I look at it every day.
Yeah.
Because was an amazing individual, and he was watching me because he was so focused on because he was basically my coach. He was my team coach when he was here, and he was watching me while I was warming up and watching. He knew I was watching Mike's match, and he saw my face. He knew me inside out, and so he knew. Oh man, there's problems. And he came back. And he's like, "You got to get your ass up. Let's go." And he picked me up and he started moving me around, and maybe he might have slapped me, but like, "Hey, snap out of it. You gotta perform, and you gotta perform soon. And so forget about that. That's over. Move on." And that was the exact thing I needed right at that moment. And he knew he was just a great coach. I mean, I wish I had that opportunity. When I was at Nebraska, I was offered the head coaching job there. I was moving on to the Secret Service, but I went through my mind. I said, "Who will I hire?" Because I thought, well, if I take this, I'm going to go find Willie Gatson.
Yeah.
Because he's the best motivator I knew.
Yeah.
I guess that's enough about that. I might start crying.
Well, it was a fantastic way to cap off your career, Kelly. Winning the national title in Hilton Coliseum, which I might add, I think you're one of only 3 Iowa State wrestlers to win a national title in Hilton Coliseum, and I think the others are Nate Carr and oh my God, who's the other one? Mike Van Arsdale. So to actually to win the title in Hilton was pretty special.
Was I the first one to win?
You were the first. Yep, you were the first. Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. When you got done, Kelly, you right away you became an assistant coach at Nebraska. Is that correct?
That's correct. 4 years I was assistant coach there.
Yeah. And how much did you enjoy that? And then when did you decide it was time to change your career?
I enjoyed it a lot. Actually, it was the best job I ever had. Well, yeah, I enjoyed everything about it. And what I enjoyed about it was taking guys and taking them from A to Z to where they wanted to be. If they wanted to be, they started here and they wanted to be here, national champion, Big 8 champion or something. And I felt that I had an impact on several guys. I just related really well with that age guys. And I can think of one guy in particular that he wasn't our national champion, Al Freeman. I think he was a state champion in Iowa once, and looking at him, you wouldn't think that, this guy's a tremendous wrestler, but he was a student of the sport, and he just soaked up everything I gave him, and I had him. I mean, he beat Randy Lewis, the Olympic champion in the Midlands.
Must be pretty good then.
Yeah, he became pretty good. Unfortunately, he did not win the national title. Did he get to the finals? I think he might have got to the finals, or no, he didn't get to the finals. He got beaten in a real tight match. And that's it. It's like razors. Guys are really good. Here's a guy that beat the Olympic champion, but he can't. He got in the finals, and he lost to a guy that he beat, Daryl Burley, from who he had beaten in the Midlands to be the Midlands champion. Was in the same tournament he beat.
Okay.
He beat Daryl Burley, 2-time national champion, and then he beats the Olympic champion, 2-time national champion Randy Lewis in the same tournament.
Okay.
And So that's how good he was. But, he just missed being a national champion by that much.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for him. He's a really great guy. We're still great friends.
Yeah. And then after a couple, 4 years in Nebraska, you made a switch.
It was kind of an accident. I don't know why. We had a tournament there in the middle, the beginning of the year in the indoor track. Nebraska has a lot of money. They have a lot of facilities, and it was right in my building, the indoor track. And there was this tournament that we'd had, open tournament, and we weren't really coaching because it was like an open thing. And I looked across the room. Somehow I got interested in the Secret Service. I met some. Oh, that's right. It was up in Michigan at the wrestling camp, and it was during a campaign year, and I met some Secret Service guys. I don't know. They were living in the dorm that I was living in. That was it. That for one, I was like, I never lived in a dorm, but they must have been out of space or something.
So I'm guessing this is 1984, probably.
Oh, this is before '84.
This is 44. Okay.
In
80.
I was in the Secret Service in '84. It was
Okay.
I don't know, probably 80, something like that.
Yep.
And I met these guys and I started talking to them, peppering them with questions. I thought, oh, that sounds like a pretty neat job, pretty interesting. And they were telling me all about it. I thought, wow, traveling, you do investigations, then you go out and you do protection, and you travel around the world. And I thought, well, that'd be interesting. And so I met those guys, and I thought that's pretty interesting. And so I started on my own. Now, I loved coaching, but I was thinking long term, I don't know if coaching's going to be, I don't know how long I'm going to be the assistant coach here forever. I don't know. I'm making big money, $17,000 a year. And I was also actually, I had some other income from camps and such, but still, wasn't. And anyway, I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. So I started looking into it, and it sounded really interesting. And I said, well, it looks like it pays well, and travel, and et cetera, et cetera. So well, let me get into this. And I kept trying to figure out how to get an interview or whatever, which that was very difficult in itself.
Yeah. And
this tournament I mentioned earlier, I look across the gymnasium and I see a fellow standing across the gym. I was recruiting a kid from Virginia, from Northern Virginia, from the suburbs of DC, right where I live now in the suburbs. And I knew his dad was like number 2 or 3 in the Secret Service. He was, he ended up being the director, but at the time he was like number 2 or 3. And I recognized him because somehow I knew him because of his, and I said, that guy, I know him, and he is a big wheel. I'm going to go talk to him. Mm-hmm. And so I just got my butt over there, and I said, hey, introduced myself, Kelly Ward, yada, yada. And I'm having trouble getting an interview, et cetera, et cetera. And he looked at me, and he's a very serious guy, of course, because he's, ends up being the director of the Secret Service. And his kid, like I said, I was recruiting, his kid ended up going to Oklahoma. So we didn't do a very good job recruiting him. But DeBartolo is, not remembering the name, it's an Italian name. But anyway, he says, I'll call you. I'm going to go back to DC right after this. I'm going back tomorrow to DC and I'll look into this. And I thought, well, okay, that's a shot. Probably not going to hear anything. Sure as hell, he called me, or somebody else called. He didn't call me. Somebody else called me and said, we want you to come in to have an interview. And I think I was back in Maryland, and they said, oh, you're back in Maryland. they were wanting me to come interview in the Omaha field office. They said, "Well, I'm in Maryland."
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, good, even better. Come down to the headquarters, DC, the SS headquarters, and we'll interview you on X date." And I was like, "Okay, great." And then the rest was history. It was just, it took me 5 years of banging on that door, and that's kind of the mantra I go on pretty much with anything that I want to get or do. Is just everything can be done if you just keep at it. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kelly, but obviously you had a great career in the Secret Service.
You're assistant AD there, is that right?
I'm sorry?
You're the assistant AD there?
I'm an assistant AD for letter winners engagement, correct. Yep.
So, I mean, they don't just give that job to anybody.
Yeah.
And you had to keep pecking to get to where you're at. And it's the same with anybody. They want to do something that a lot of people want to do. But and when I got in, I found out that, I got in with a lot of good quality people and who did the same stories I had. But it was a great organization. It still is. And it does great things. People don't really realize this. They think that all we do is protect the president and the vice president. That's the majority of what they do. We do criminal cases, counterfeiting, credit card fraud, all kinds of crazy. We got into a lot of different things when I was in there, but mostly financial crimes. And we have come across some pretty nasty people.
Obviously, very tense. I'm sure it's very tense situations in that profession. But interacting with the presidents and vice presidents is obviously what most people know about the Secret Service.
Right.
When you think about the presidents that you worked for, which you worked for about 4 of them, didn't you? Is that right?
Let's see. I started with Reagan, was in office. I didn't end up working for him until he was out of office.
Okay.
And I'll just say this because you might not ask this, but my favorite president by far of any, and I've met them all since him up to now, was Ronald Reagan. That guy was tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous. And why was he tremendous? Because he did it the Harold Nichols way. He got the best of the best at every position in his cabinet, that if they were in charge of butterflies, they knew everything about butterflies better than anybody in the world, and they were the butterfly guy. And he had them all those people in position, which made him look good.
Yeah.
Made his cabinet look good, made the government look good, and I never saw a reporter get him fluffed up. And I've been in the room with him before, watching him take them on, but he was very excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back again.
That's okay, Kelly. I got just a couple more questions. Once again,
Okay.
we're with Kelly Ward on our CyCast, 3-time NCAA finalist, national champion, and we're so glad that he is taking time to talk with us today. Going back again to one more question on the Secret Service. How much do you think wrestling helped you in your career in that field?
Tremendously, especially both in the investigative portion of it and in the protection portion of it. People don't really like to get arrested, and they're gonna fight you. Yeah. You're gonna have somebody fight you. And I've had numerous people fight me but wrestling, it's no match, really. You put them right down to the ground, where you even have a big guy. A footballer's good because he knows how to tackle, but a citizen that's 220, maybe, he never was an athlete doing it. He doesn't know how to handle people, how to deal with them. But wrestling was tremendous help.
One more question for you, Kelly. Thanks again. It's been so awesome to catch up with you. You were inducted to the Iowa State Athletics Hall of Fame in 2011, and you're going to be in Ames here at the end of the month. Back in Ames for the Iowa State duel. How excited are you to be back, and how much are you still following Iowa State wrestling?
I follow it from afar, 1,500 miles away, but really my biggest joy is getting back and seeing friends.
Sure.
That, like my best friend and Scott Hale in Des Moines, Iowa, and J.R. Ewing and his wife Diane, who were J.R. wrestled at Iowa State, is a good friend of mine, and Joe Gibbons and Jim Gibbons. I'll see all these people, I'm sure, and because there's some sort of social or something you guys are having or they're having.
Yep.
And that's really more of my interest in the whole thing. I mean, I'll enjoy hopefully Iowa State wins the match.
Sure.
But that just seeing friends that I haven't seen for a while. And I love Iowa. I want to move back to Iowa personally, but my wife's having trouble with that idea since she's still got a umbilical cord attached to our 37-year-old son.
Yeah.
Close by.
Well, Kelly, yeah, we always would welcome you back in Iowa. You know that. And once again, thanks again for joining us. It's been so great to catch up. And we hope, we can't wait to see you in a couple weeks here.
Okay. Well, I'll seek you out if you'll be at the match.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'll try to seek you out and shake your hand. But thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay.